I've seen preppers stockpile gear like trophies, flashlights, power banks, sealed food kits thinking they're ready. But I'll tell you straight, some of the most trusted items people pack are exactly what'll screw them over when the grid collapses. Not because they're broken, but because they weren't built for a real crisis. I'm breaking down 7 tools that look safe on the surface, but the second things go dark, they'll turn into liabilities. Quiet ones. The kind that cost you time, safety, and maybe more. Look, I'm not here to scare you, but if you're serious about prepping, you need to know this stuff. I used to trust some of these items too, until I saw what really happens in grid-down scenarios and how fast these so-called survival tools turn into liabilities. This isn't a theory. This is real-world experience. So don't skip around because one of these might be sitting in your house right now and you won't even realize it until it's too late. Number 1. Wall-powered gas leak detectors. Gas leak detectors sound like a smart move. Most people plug them into the wall and forget about them thinking they've got one less thing to worry about. And to be fair, when the grid is up and power's stable, they do the job. But when the lights go out and the grid fails, these little devices silently die and take your only warning system with them. Here's the problem no one talks about. Gas doesn't stop leaking just because the power's gone. In fact, during a blackout, leaks are more likely. People mess with stoves, backup heaters, or old lines without proper ventilation. And while you're lighting candles or checking the basement for supplies, you don't realize the air around you is slowly filling with something that won't warn you until it's too late because your detector is dead. Most plug-in gas detectors don't have a battery backup. That's the flaw. The moment power cuts out, they shut off. No beep, no alert, nothing. So the exact time you need them in a blackout, when people are using open flame heat sources or messing with old appliances, they're completely useless. It gets worse if you're asleep. During a winter outage, you fire up a propane heater indoors without thinking. The gas builds up quietly overnight. No one smells it. No one hears a thing. You don't wake up. People trust these detectors blindly because they feel high-tech. They're sold as safety essentials, but in a grid-down event, they become dead plastic on the wall. The fix? Get a dual-powered gas detector one with both plug-in and rechargeable battery backup, and test it regularly. Keep a second unit in the kitchen or near any fuel source. Trusting one detector, one that depends entirely on grid power, is asking for a silent disaster. In survival, anything that goes quiet when the power goes out isn't a tool. It's a risk, and this one's deadly. Number 2. Digital lock safes, keypad-only access. Digital safes look smart. Push-button access, no keys to lose, no old-school tumblers to fumble with. You set your code, lock your valuables, and feel like you've got things handled. But here's what most people don't realize: those safes you trust to protect your most important gear, they're built for convenience, not crisis. The moment the power goes out, and you need to get into that safe fast, maybe for ammo, cash, documents, or even your backup phone, you're gambling that the batteries inside haven't died. And let's be honest, how often do you check them? Most digital safes run on a few AA batteries tucked behind the keypad. If they run out, the keypad stops working. Some safes have emergency key overrides, but where's the key? Buried in a drawer? Lost in a move? In another locked box? You're now standing in front of a steel box that's sealed shut, and what you need is on the other side. It's worse if you've mounted the safe or hidden it somewhere tight. Some safes allow external battery packs to jumpstart them, but try finding and connecting that in the dark, under stress, with no time. That safe becomes a paperweight when you need it the most. And don't forget, during civil unrest or long-term outages, digital components fail more often. Heat, cold, humidity, all of it wears down the internal wiring. So even if you keep fresh batteries, there's no guarantee the keypad will respond when things really fall apart. The whole point of a safe in a crisis is access, not just security. If you can't open it under pressure, it's not protecting you, it's locking away what could save you. The fix? Use mechanical dial safes for critical gear, or at the very least, keep a backup key in a separate known location, one that doesn't require another safe to access. If you're going to use a digital safe, set a schedule to replace the batteries every few months, and test it. Don't wait for the lights to go out before you find out it won't open. In a collapse, timing matters. And if your own safe locks you out, that's not security. That's sabotage. Number 3. Electric water purification systems. Clean water is a top priority in any grid-down situation, everyone knows that. That's why so many people invest in high-end water purification systems. UV light purifiers, electric distillers, countertop units with built-in pumps, they seem like the perfect solution. Set it up, plug it in, and you've got endless clean water till the power cuts out. Here's the trap. Most of these advanced purifiers rely completely on electricity. No battery backup. No manual override. Once the grid goes down, they stop working. And if you don't have a second filtration method ready, you're stuck staring at gallons of potentially contaminated water with no safe way to drink it. It's easy to get impressed by shiny systems. Some even market themselves as emergency ready, but read the fine print. They're emergency ready as long as you have power. That's not prepping, that's gambling. Let's say you've got a countertop filter that uses a motorized pump to push water through a 5-stage system. That's great for daily life. But in a blackout, the pump won't run, the filtration stalls, and now that entire unit is just taking up space on your counter. You go to your backup stash and realize you didn't keep enough bottled water to last. This becomes even more dangerous if you're relying on well water. A lot of rural homes depend on electric well pumps. When those shut off, your whole water source goes silent. Combine that with a dead filtration system, and now you're double-blind, no incoming water, and no safe way to clean what you have. And here's the kicker, most people don't even test these systems off-grid. They assume, I'll figure it out when I need it. That's how people end up sick, dehydrated, or worse. The fix? Always keep a gravity-fed, non-electric filter on standby like a ceramic or carbon block unit. Doesn't need power, doesn't care if the grid is fried, it just works. Bonus points if you also store iodine tablets or have a boil-ready backup. And don't forget, test all your water setups at least once under blackout conditions. Because in a collapse, clean water isn't just about health, it's about control. And the moment your purifier dies with the lights, you're not in control anymore. Number 4. Refrigerated medications, without backup cooling. When people think about prepping, they stock food, water, and tools. But there's one category that's often ignored: medications that require refrigeration to stay effective. And when the grid goes down, these aren't just hard to manage, they become a ticking time bomb. Think insulin, certain antibiotics, eye drops, liquid antibiotics for kids, even some hormone treatments. These aren't optional meds. For some people, they're the difference between functioning and falling apart, or worse. Now imagine the power goes out in the middle of summer. The fridge shuts off. You've got 12 hours before internal temps start climbing, and 24 to 48 hours before everything inside is compromised. Some meds degrade gradually, others lose effectiveness completely. And the worst part? You can't tell just by looking at them. Most people assume they'll just use them quickly, or keep the fridge door closed. But that doesn't work in real blackouts, especially in long-term grid failure or collapse. There's no warning label that says, "You're risking your life now." It just stops working. And you don't realize until your blood sugar crashes, or your infection spreads, or your breathing tightens up. Now here's where the false sense of safety kicks in. People think, I have meds stored, I'm covered. But without backup cooling, that confidence is fragile. The longer the outage, the more useless those vials and bottles become. There's also the storage risk. Some medications become toxic if stored improperly. So you're not just losing the benefit, you're actually putting yourself in danger by taking something that's gone bad. The fix? Start with a basic solar-powered cooler or 12V mini fridge connected to a battery backup or portable solar panel. There are compact units made specifically for medications now, some even designed for off-grid or remote areas. Another option? Get a heavy-duty cooler and use ice block rotation during short outages, but that only works if you have a way to freeze them beforehand. Also, talk to your doctor. Ask for options with longer shelf life or non-refrigerated alternatives. Some meds have shelf-stable versions, you just have to request them. Bottom line, you can have the best food stash in the world, the strongest bug-out plan, the most tactical gear, but if your body shuts down because your meds failed in the dark, none of it matters. Don't leave your health at the mercy of the grid. Number 5. Portable propane heaters used indoors. When the temperature drops and the power's out, staying warm becomes a survival priority. That's why so many people turn to portable propane heaters, especially the ones labeled indoor safe. They're compact, effective, and give off instant heat. But here's the part nobody tells you. Even the safe ones can kill you. In theory, these heaters are designed with safety features: tip-over shutoff, low oxygen sensors, regulated burners. But they all depend on one crucial thing: ventilation. And when panic sets in during a blackout, especially in winter, people seal up rooms to trap heat. Windows stay closed. Doors are stuffed with towels. Air stops circulating. That's when carbon monoxide quietly builds up and you don't see it, smell it, or hear it coming. What makes this even more dangerous is that in cold, silent darkness, carbon monoxide poisoning feels like sleep. Headache, dizziness, fatigue, most people lay down thinking they're tired and never wake up. And if you've got kids or elderly in the house, the risk multiplies fast. Now here's where the prepping illusion kicks in. You think, it says indoor safe, I'm good. But even manufacturers recommend cracked windows, cross-ventilation, and short bursts of use, not hours of continuous heat in a sealed room. Problem is, in real crisis mode, no one reads fine print. People are desperate to stay warm, not technically correct. There's also the fuel side of it. Propane tanks, even the small green canisters, can leak. Store them wrong, use them near flame, or leave them in a warm room. Now you're sitting next to a potential explosion. That's not warmth, that's a booby trap. The smart move? Use propane heaters only in well-ventilated spaces, and never overnight. If you're sleeping, shut it off. Use wool blankets, layered clothing, and Mylar emergency wraps to stay warm while resting. And always have a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector in the room. Not optional, mandatory. Better yet, invest in non-combustion heat sources for emergencies. Think thermal mass, like heated bricks or water containers. Candle-powered heaters with clay pots, or even DIY insulation walls. They won't pump out heat fast, but they won't kill you either. Because in a blackout, fire isn't the only danger. Sometimes, it's the invisible stuff, the gas, the air, the silence that gets you first. Number 6. Offline survival apps that aren't actually offline. These days, there's an app for everything: fire starting techniques, edible plant guides, off-grid medical help, survival maps, you name it. And yeah, they're impressive. Easy to download, organized neatly on your phone, and marketed as offline capable. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? Here's the reality. Most of them don't actually work offline, at least not the way you think. A lot of so-called survival apps claim to be usable without the internet, but what they don't tell you is that only some content is saved offline by default. The rest? It's pulled from the cloud. So unless you've manually downloaded every page, every file, and every map and tested it, you're walking into a false sense of security. Now imagine this. The grid goes down. No power. Cell towers are jammed or offline. You open your favorite survival app to check water purification steps or how to treat a burn, and all you get is a spinning wheel. Or worse, a blank screen that says, unable to load content. That's not a glitch. That's the moment you realize you were never really prepared. It gets worse with navigation apps. You might assume your GPS survival map will work offline because your phone has location services, but unless you've preloaded the map tiles for your region, it won't render anything. The GPS chip knows where you are. It just can't show you what's around you. And let's not forget battery life. In a blackout, you might only get a few hours of screen time per charge. If your whole survival plan lives in your phone, you've just put your fate in the hands of a fragile, limited system. The fix? First, actually test every survival app in airplane mode. If the info vanishes, don't rely on it. Second, download full guides as PDFs and store them in a reliable offline reader like Foxit or MoonPlus Reader. Even better? Print out the top 20 pages you can't afford to forget. Yes, paper. Still undefeated when everything else fails. Digital tools are helpful. But prepping means layers, not dependence. Because when the signal dies, knowledge is survival. And if you can't access it, it doesn't matter how smart your phone is. Number 7. First aid kits with expired medical supplies. Everyone has a first aid kit tucked away in a closet, under the sink, in a bug-out bag, or stored in the car. And most people feel confident just knowing it's there. But here's the problem. The majority of those kits? Useless when you actually need them. And some? Flat out dangerous. Why? Because people pack their kits once, and then forget about them. They assume medical supplies last forever. But bandages dry out. Ointments lose potency. Adhesives crack and peel. Medications expire. And antiseptics? Some of them literally evaporate in sealed pouches over time, especially if exposed to heat or cold. Now imagine this. It's grid down. Emergency services are gone. You cut your hand bad while trying to open a can, or your kid trips and slices their leg open. You reach for your kit and that's when it hits you. The antiseptic wipes are bone dry. The antibiotic ointment smells off. The bandages won't stick. You're not treating a wound. You're making a bigger one. Worse? Many people keep actual medications inside these kits: painkillers, allergy tablets, antibiotics. But expired meds are unpredictable. Some simply don't work anymore. Others can become toxic. You thought you were saving your future self. Instead, you just handed them a liability. And if you think this only happens to casual preppers, think again. Even experienced folks overlook medical gear because it's not as exciting as food or tools. But when a real emergency hits, it's often the smallest things that matter most. Now here's something even more critical. Most people never train with their kits. They've never opened the packaging, used the scissors, unwrapped a bandage, or tried taping a splint. In a crisis, you don't get time to read labels. You need to know it works, and you need to know how to use it fast. The fix? Simple. Set a reminder every 6 months to check your kits. Go through each item. Toss anything past its expiration date. Test the tools. Replenish what's low. And customize it because most pre-packed kits are full of junk you'll never use. Build your kit based on real scenarios. Deep cuts, burns, sprains, allergic reactions, infection risk, not just band-aids and gauze. Also keep a second kit sealed in a waterproof bag in your vehicle or bug-out bag. If one fails, you've got a fallback. In the end, your first aid kit isn't just another box to check off. It's your last line of defense when everything else goes wrong. If it's expired, untested, or half empty, it's not a safety net. It's a trap. Here's the hard truth: prepping isn't just about collecting gear. It's about understanding failure before it happens. Every item you saw in this video is trusted by millions of people. People who think they're covered. People who've spent money, made plans, and checked boxes. But trust isn't enough when the grid fails. And gear that looks safe on the surface can be the very thing that breaks you when it matters most. It's not the big dramatic mistakes that catch people off guard. It's the quiet ones. The expired bandage. The digital safe that won't open. The heater that poisons you in your sleep. That's the real danger, not chaos outside, but a system you built with cracks you didn't see coming. The fact that you made it this far into the video tells me one thing. You're not like most people. You're serious. You're paying attention. You know survival is about details, not hype. So here's what I'll say if this video opened your eyes even once. If one of these 7 items made you stop and think, wait, do I have that? Then this channel is for you, because I don't do clickbait. I don't sugarcoat. I break things down the way they actually go wrong, so you can be ready before they do. Subscribe now, not because it helps me, but because the next time the lights go out, you won't have time to realize what you missed.